Turn 3 of War in the East. It is July 6, 1941. The Southern Front has moved ahead slowly, while the Central Front has isolated and cut off tens of thousands of Russians. In the north, Peskov prepares for combat. And now, let's get into it. I'm starting to see one thing I really do need to think about is starting to transfer all my transport crafts over to the U2 frame. I have to redo a lot of my reserve pool. I want to get a lot of the older aircrafts into there, and I'll modernize specifically the fighter forces in the field. I like the fact that I have 200 LAGG-3s and 100 MiG-3s, but I need them actually in airfields, in squadrons, fighting the Germans. The only thing on this screen that actually brings an alarm to me is based on a forum post I read recently. I'm at 200,000 manpower in the pool. And from what I was reading, if that dips to around 120,000, then even if you pass your die roll checks in the field, your units are not going to receive reinforcements. So what that's going to do for me is force me to change what I've been doing with my admin points. I'm going to spend it in a different direction this turn. I'm not going to buy 2 rifle divisions. I'm going to try to let the reserve pool get what it gets in reinforcements, and the units in the field get theirs, and then hopefully I start to see my manpower pool increase. So obviously you're going to grab from the Russian people a lot early in this war, and I'm not sure it's something that I can actually manipulate, but I'm going to try. Kiev here is not the focal point of this turn. This is just me slowly pulling back, withdrawing, get into a position where most likely we'll start to see something in the next week. July 6th is marking what I'm calling the beginning of the battle for Smolensk, so we will hop right over to there shortly. Our air missions are pretty standard, sticking with interdiction across the entire front, mostly from the long-range bomber command group. I have them running 700 bombers into 3 different areas through this. Southern Command gets kind of hit hard down there from Romanian. I'm assuming that's Romanian fighters. But here in Kiev, it did actually what I kind of hoped it does. So I didn't do as much there. Round for Luki, I seem to take a lot more hits there in Peskov. He, as you can see, moved up to the east of Peskov. It looks like he's trying to cut my army in half. I don't know how well that's going to work. I am able to put kind of a wall of men in his way. It would have been nicer if he didn't, and he would have heading towards the city, but we'll see how that plays out. I'm more worried about Smolensk. I have at least 10 infantry divisions cut off that I don't really have a chance of getting out, and some of my units are pretty weak in the if he goes up around the north, he'll probably get through. I don't think he can take the city next turn, so I think this is going to turn into at least a 2-week battle. But I bombed fairly heavily there. I got some pretty decent interdiction levels. What I did do is actually I ordered 2 forms of ground support, and I tied them into 2 specific armies. And I think it's the 16th and the 30th. I'm hopeful that when he does his side of his turn, that they come in and do a little bit more damage to the Panzers and Panzer 2s and 3s. But I mean, it was rough. It's about another 500 aircraft lost, but I'll take it. I'm not going to use. They're mostly SP2s anyways, so it's not like they're modern aircraft. The Leningrad area receives an influx of militia units. The Moscow area receives a similar, if not more, units than this city. So what I do in each instance is spread them out into the like strategic locations, heavy woods, rough terrain, cities if they're available. I assign each one of them to either the Moscow Command or the NEVA Operational Group Command. And then in each, I apply two or three construction battalions or brigades. And the hopes is that by the time the Germans reach their way up to here, they've had enough time to give me like 10 hexes of, I'm hopeful for level 3 forts. So that when my army, however battered and bruised it is, by the time it reaches this point, they're able to dig in behind these fortifications, and then maybe that'll be where we stop. I'm going to need more airfields in both cities. And in fact, across pretty much most of Russia, I have huge gaps where I just don't have enough airfields. And in these airfields, I'm going to have to find a way to upgrade them. I don't have enough construction units right now. So that will be what I do with the admin points. It is an attempt to try to get some construction. I'm tempted to build a construction battalion. It's 4 admin points. I have not ever used it, not yet. So hopefully, whenever I do get around to getting it, it proves itself to be worth it. But that will not be this turn or next turn. My points are pretty much spent, at least in my mind, on what I'm going to do. But this is the defense of my main cities with the militia units they give me. Now we'll go to Veliky Luki and see what I choose to do. So with the German push through the center, splitting those two cities from each other, it's forced me to spread my reinforcements that I gave to the region northeast of Veliky Luki more westward than I wanted to. I was hoping to concentrate myself a little closer towards the city, but I'm still relatively satisfied. He's going to capture that town this upcoming week. And the question I have is how much further can he head northeast? I'm in a position where he's going to have to at least dedicate his time isolating me or fighting me. If he fights me, if he goes through, let's say, the strength 2 infantry division that's 4 hexes from the unknown German unit, I don't have nothing behind that. Every unit on the railroad heading up towards Moscow is desperately looking for a refit. I put my strongest infantry division further south in the hopes that that's where he goes. It looks to me like he's more mobile that direction, so that's why I chose to do that. Up by Peskov, you're watching me slowly spread my units around. His movement has forced me to strengthen the city and then shift eastward. So I'm going to slowly apply a couple infantry divisions to an army unit in the swamps northward of his push. If he continues on his approach, trying to cut me in half, he's either going to succeed at that, which makes me abandon Peskov, or it makes it his push on Peskov is not going to succeed for a couple weeks. So I'm going to take a guess that the direction he's going to go here is to further sever my lines in half. But I'm not honestly against that. I have more units coming in that I can throw into it, and eventually I'm going to have to, we're not going to hold the city anyways, so I don't care if he fights me for that there or I just abandon it to him in other ways. Like it'll be done in a manner at some point in time. Another city that is doomed to fall, Smolensk. 3 army groups are tasked with trying to make that as challenging as possible. The 30th, 28th, and 16th. all of them receiving very specific air support. So the plan that I have put forth is a controlled retreat, provide myself with something in the south that can't be isolated, at least I would be surprised if it is. In the north, fall back as well, get myself into a position where the Western Air Command or the Moscow Air Command can hopefully cause some pain. I have a couple heavy woods units or terrain hexes, giving myself some form of defense. I have the city itself, and then I have a good, decent amount of reinforcements coming in, but not enough. I didn't expect to lose those 10 infantry divisions, so I didn't put anything in here other than what I was already moving towards the city. So, with this in mind, we're just going to put a simple lineup. The only thing I do out of the ordinary is replace Karmanov with a much better general to command the 62nd Rifle Corps. 7 initiative, 7 infantry. The units are adequately supplied. So we will find out. But that's about all I can do. I reorganized my reserve group. I do a couple other things off screen. But other than that, I'm gonna ship it off back to my opponent and see what surprises he gives me when we reach what I'm assuming will be the 13th of July.